If you're wanting to turn a zigzag into a satin stitch for some applique, you're going to notice that if you pick the zigzag and try to reduce the stitch length, you don't have a lot of increments. And that's because there is on this machine a built-in satin stitch. It's actually stitch number 27. So start by touching 2, 7 quickly. Check which foot you need. Touch the question mark. It says foot B. And the reason for foot B is that when you flip it over, there's a complete cutout underneath the foot. So as we have a very dense stitch, it doesn't get hung up and it will flow completely smoothly out the back side. So this stitch is going to be, let's see here, the width is going to start at 4 millimeters wide, which again, we can make that any width that we want. And the length is going to be 0.8 with lots of increments depending on how thick the thread is that you've actually put on. So let me show you how you'll alter this and get it to be exactly the way you want it. With foot B on, slide your thread underneath the foot and to the back and lower your presser foot. And as we start to sew, we'll just kind of test this out. Usually I would recommend using some type of stabilizer underneath this, a tearaway for what you're working on. But as you'll notice, the stitch is very compact. And let's just kind of see how it looks. Actually, with this, it actually looks really good. So that's a stitch width of 4. So if we go ahead and make it a little narrower, and again, you can change this while you're sewing. So I can go all the way down to, actually 1 millimeter is the narrowest this would go. I'm going to just change it while I sew so you can see the full range of widths all the way back up to 7 millimeters wide. That is huge. And you can see you can get a nice gradual change while you're sewing so you can see which one would be right for you. If that thread had not filled in as much as it had, you can change the stitch length to get it to be closer together or further apart if the thread was a lot thicker and was starting to pile up. So you just want to make sure that as it's moving through the machine that you're not having to help it, that the machine is doing all the work for you and you can really get that perfect satin stitch.